So let's speak about CORZ and why CORZ is different. What we invested in CORZ before, very quickly, and then we're gonna do a video on this. When we invested in CORZ, our thesis, which was right, was proven right, was that there was sort of arbitrage somehow, right? Do you remember that everybody was concentrating on CORZ as miners, and we said, okay, mining is a lost business, is zero, right? It's worth very little. And we explain why. We explain, what happened when Bitcoin goes up, and why the upside is limited. But then we say that there was a very interesting scenario was playing actually initially with different miners, but CORZ was the one that actually broke the ice with contracts, right? There was a contract with CoreWeave, and those contracts were based on the fact that you could actually, the arbitrage was the fact that there was a lot of cost involved in actually doing a new data center, but you could change the chip of the miners and transform into a data center. And company like, for example, CoreWeave was willing and was actually signing a contract at the time that then was signed to provide capex and to provide some upfront free cash flow with contracts to lease those data center, because it was much faster and probably cheaper than starting a new one. So, and we did the calculation. We did the calculation based not on the mining business, which was very unpredictable as cash flow, because it was depending on the price of Bitcoin, it was depending on many other issues that we spoke about. And we said, let's put Bitcoin on hold. Let's say the Bitcoin operation is worth very little, right? Or the minimum that is cost to reproduce such an asset, at very bare minimum one, and then we did the free cash flow analysis, discounting the cash flow of the contracts that was signing with the big company like CoreWeave at the time. It was, I think, 90 billion, and it was a company that was connected to Nvidia. It was very strong, big company, and the calculation was based on the different contracts that they were doing, so the megawatt they were actually developing and in stages, right? And based on that, at the time, CORZ was about between $12 to $14, right? We were always being very conservative. I mean, some of our friends or analysts were more towards the 15 mark, but they were valuing a bit more the Bitcoin. They were valuing two things that we were not willing to give value to. One was the Bitcoin part. If Bitcoin would go to 80 or 90 at the time when we were actually doing this, Bitcoin was 50. So we were not actually willing to do that. I mean, willing to give value to Bitcoin going up, because that was not our play. And we were not also willing to give a growth possibility to CORZ, means to pay for other contracts that could actually come up in the company and expand and grow the revenue and the EBIT, obviously. And we were right, actually. I think we were right, and the stock went to 16, then 18, between 15, actually between 14 to 18. A lot of insiders sold, and I wonder why, but it's quite easy to understand. So we were right to sell at 12. We sold between $12 to $13, a bit less than $13, and we missed all the upside between 13 to 18. Happy to. And now, I mean, yesterday, because of the DeepSeek situation and what's going to happen with the data center, if you don't need all these computing power to work with the AI, right? And then some of those miners lost up to 30%. I mean, 33% CORZ. I think Cypher, that is another one that we actually played, lost also 20 to 20%. What we did and how much is worth now? We didn't buy, because we obviously understand that if really, and we don't know, we don't want to take a bet on that. If really you don't need all this data center anymore, probably the valuation should be revised downwards. But we do understand that it's quite hard that this contract will be cancelled. It's not that we don't think it's very very probable that CoreWeave will cancel the contract with Chords. We didn't look into if there is clause that allow to close to do not go ahead with the contract, and if there is a penalty. So we need to check more those details. Some of those are not disclosed by the company, so it's more hard to do that. We could try to actually ask those questions during the earning call, but we did something a bit more conservative, you see, as is in our nature. And we sold a $10 put at almost $2, at 190, 185, 190. So we got paid 18.5%, 19% on a put between now and September. It's quite interesting because it's obviously less than 1 year, and 19% is not bad. And the price that we sold was $10, which was, if you do $10 minus the 1.8 or the $2, say, of the put, is basically $8. And with $8, we should have some sort of margin of safety there. Should, because obviously if the contract can be taken out, and it was only a penalty from CoreWeave, and if they're not gonna go ahead with this for the next few years, then obviously the story changed, and I don't know what's really gonna happen. And there's not really an intrinsic value, if not only the mining part, which need to rely on the Bitcoin price going up. So that's one of the issue. So we felt that the 2% position portfolio, selling a put at $10, getting 20% on that was not bad. And we eventually gonna wait for the bounce back today. It's already bouncing back a bit, I think, pre-market. But if the bounce back and the volatility will decrease, we'll probably try to buy a put at this time, maybe around $6 to cover for the downside in case the story goes completely wrong. But so it's not something that is sure, but it is more conservative, and we're gonna look more into this. And if the stock goes around $8 again, we might actually even buy a position. But we didn't feel like buying it, for the same things that we said before about also all the sector. And the time was very interesting. The time there was not this threat on the I think so. The story was different. Now it's more complicated, and there's no here. It is not Pickstone. This is not NLP. This is not mystery. The miners have very little value, and there's very little intrinsic value if those cash flow will not be for some reason there anymore. So we need to be careful. We're going to speak about CORZ in our video with our analyst, and please stay tuned and take care.